Hello, and welcome to the Property Pilot Podcast. This is Brian Graham, and we are on episode 17, How to Start a Business. This will be a general how to start a business as well as how it applies to real estate. I hope you guys had a great week, and let's get right into it. So I didn't really write many notes for this episode. I wanted to speak kind of organically, just to give a little insight as to really what it takes to start a business. We're going to talk first about like the technical aspect and then the practical aspect. So what I mean by that is the technical is how do you actually start a business? So what I mean by that is you'll have to go onto the Secretary of State website for whatever state you're in. Usually that's what it is, the Secretary of State website. And you're going to file for Articles of Organization. Some states may call it something different. Here in Maryland, we call it the Articles of Organization. And then you're going to apply. And then usually a state will have a fee with that. Some states might not. I don't know of a state that doesn't, but in Maryland, we have $300 and we have to pay that recurring $300 to make sure that our business is in good standing. For example, if your business applies for a loan in some way, they want to make sure that your business is quote unquote in good standing. So that way they know that you're real and that you actually keep up to date with that business and it's not just money laundering front or something. So you're going to apply for Articles of Organization. They're going to ask you to obviously choose a name for your business. And after that's chosen, you're going to need to open a bank account. Well, you can't just open a bank account with a business that was just created. You have to apply for what's called an EIN, an Employment Identification Number. That EIN is you're going to go into the IRS website and you're going to get an EIN. Once you get that EIN number, then you're going to go to the bank and then you can apply to open a bank account. Once you have a business bank account, now you're officially, technically ready to do business. So it's actually very, very simple in order to get started. Obviously, you need some cash for that $300 to begin the business here in Maryland anyway. But now let's talk about the practical side. So people are like, I want to start a business, or someone tells you should just start your own business. It's very easy to say. And, you could argue it's easy to do because there are, 7 billion people in the world. If you start a business, most likely there's someone out there that's willing to take a service from you or take a good from you. But what you have to understand is the most important thing is not the money it takes to begin a business. The most important thing is the skill of what you're selling, whether it's a good or a service. So when you're beginning a business, you have to have a skill that helps drive people to your business, or a good that drives people to your business. Nowadays, usually people want to pay for a good that makes their life easier. So what I mean by that is I can't just, my expertise, quote unquote, is in real estate. It's in strength conditioning and soccer. I can't just start an interior design business and just say, okay, I'm going to start an interior design business. Everybody start coming to me. Well, my wife is an interior designer. She's actually a national award-winning interior designer. I don't have the expertise. She does. So if I were to just start an interior design business, what makes me the professional? Why would people come to me? It's not a skill that I've developed. Why would they trust me? It doesn't make sense. I don't have any training. I don't even find myself to be a very artistic or creative person in that way. In terms of remodeling and construction, it takes a lot of knowledge onto what is to code in your specific state. What is the electric code? What is the plumbing code? I don't know that information. She knows that information, which is why I hire someone like her who has that knowledge. So also people in that specific industry get interior designing and interior decorating mixed up because they think they're one and the same when it's not true. But anyway, I'm getting off on a tangent. So the practicality is someone tells me I need to start a business. Oh, you'd be good at this, you'd be good at this. But, let's say you work as a teacher at a 9-to-5 job, but you're also an expert in soccer. Well, can you just quit your job immediately and start a business and then just boom, now you're making 70 grand just like you were? No, That's not how it works. The practicality of starting a business takes time. You have to build a clientele base. Like when Amazon begun, they didn't have 3,000 customers the day one. They had to build a clientele base and then build a word of mouth. And then you develop a reputation for, in this specific example, the quality of coaching you do, how well you connect with athletes. There's so much more into it than also actually the coaching aspect. When I start to talk to people about starting businesses, and the teachers, the first thing that comes to mind, I start talking to teachers and they tell me that they're making $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year in places like Maryland, where the cost of living is top 5 in the country. And I question why, and they have a passion for teaching, and I question why they haven't thought outside the box a little bit. Well, hey, and I asked them, hey, have you thought about tutoring? And they're like, yes and no, and they kind of give me this runaround question or runaround answer. And so I say, well, how much does tutoring charge? And they say, you can charge $50 to $70 an hour in this area. I say, okay, so if you make $50 an hour, which is roughly about $100,000 a year if you work 40 hours a week, or if you charge $70 an hour, which is roughly $140,000 a year, 40 hours a week. So if you're making $70,000 as a teacher, theoretically, if you charged $35 an hour and worked 40 hours a week as a tutor, you'd make the same money. So let's double that. If I charge $70 an hour, I would work half the time. So there's the practical analysis of, is it even feasible to be a tutor? The answer is yes. How many people do you know that want extra math tutoring, extra English tutoring, need help with reading comprehension, need help with SAT studying, ACT studying, you name it, standardized testing of all sorts? There's so many people out there that need help specifically with that, but in any field, and parents that are willing to pay for their kids to excel. Because if you start doubting, no one's going to pay for that, no one's going to do that, well, someone's definitely not going to pay for a teacher or a coach that doubts themselves and that doesn't give 110%. They want to come to a professional that either gets their kid from below average to normal/average, meaning like on par with their grade in that example, or in soccer or in sports on par with the current age base or the skill level, or they want to pay from that average skill level or average reading level, and they want to help them excel at it to get them into the top 1% or 2% of their school, of their grade, of their age group, whatever it may be. Parents are willing to help their kids exceed the current status. And I think that that's important for people to understand, because we all have skills that we can offer and services we can offer. But, the excuse is I don't have time, or I don't like kids, or, the excuse is all over the place. I mean, there's a million of them. So I think you have to look deep within and say, what skill can I offer people? And you can start to phase out of your 9-to-5 normal job where you have to rely on someone else for your income and start to build your own client base and realize, okay, if I'm a teacher and I'm working 7 to 4 p.m. because I got to be at school early, even though I'm not with kids, and I got to stay after when they leave, I'm there for, 9 hours a day. And then I got to grade papers. I got to do this. I got to do that. I mean, you name it. I got to do lesson plans. Well, now if you're tutoring at night or on the weekends, then you build that clientele base. Now you're making $60, $70 an hour for 4 hours a day. Well, the math is heavily in your favor in terms of your time and value and your headache. So strongly consider whatever skill it is that you have to offer. Can you make a business out of it? My guess is yes, you can. Well, how do you monetize that? Do you need to do it? Can you do it one-on-one with a client? Do you need to have a group setting? Do you need to have, charge hourly? Do you need to charge weekly or monthly? Do people need to keep you on a stipend? Is it a situation where it's ongoing coaching or tutoring? Can you do it virtually? Then there's no travel between either party. So those are extremely extreme questions that you should be asking yourself. in order to see if you can change the way you think about how your income comes in. So now let's talk about how business and creating an LLC of some sort relates to real estate. So when I buy a property, let's say as Brian Graham, I go to the bank and I say, hi, I want to buy a property. They say, all right, give us your income history. I say, well, I'm self-employed. They say, all right, we need 2 years of income history. I say, great. Here you go. And they say, do you want to buy this business in your personal name? Or sorry, buy this property in your personal name? I say, yes. And they say, okay, here are the terms. You can get 30-year amortization, 30-year term. You can have an 7.5% interest rate, and so on. Well, what if I say, well, sorry, I'd actually like to buy this in Graham Real Estate LLC in a business? And they say, oh, sorry, you're in the wrong department. This is the residential real estate. You need to go to the commercial real estate department. And I say, well, I'm buying the same property. This is a single family home. They say, it doesn't matter. You're buying it within a business. That's the commercial department. Go talk to them. So then I go to the commercial department and I say, hi, I'd like to buy this real estate in a business's name. And they say, okay, here are the terms. We'll give you a 5 or 10-year term. It'll be a 20-year amortization, and the interest rate's going to be 8.5%. I'm like, whoa, it's the same property. You're going to give me 5-year terms. The residential side was going to give me 30-year terms. And then you're going to give me a 20-year amortization. The residential side was going to give me 30-year amortization. And then you're going to give me 8.5%. The residential was going to give me 7.5%. Well, because I'm buying the real estate within a business, all of the terms in terms of how much money I'm going to make are much worse. Here's why. When you buy real estate within a business, the real estate is the collateral. Some banks may, and I would probably argue that the majority of them would require you as the individual to personally guarantee the mortgage. But if they do not, the real estate is the collateral. If something goes wrong, you can file bankruptcy for that business and you walk away clean through your personal name. That is high risk on the bank. And for those reasons, the bank is going to give you harsher terms because they can't personally come after you for any issue with the loan. Now they're stuck with a property they don't really want to own. They want to lend to it and make money on it. So now I go back and I buy the real estate with the residential. All the terms are better because Brian Graham's name is on it. They know I'm less likely to ruin the property or not pay on the loan because it will destroy my personal credit. So they give me better terms. So now I lock in those terms, I buy the property, but here's how you do it. I buy the property, I lock in the terms, and then I transfer the property to my business's name. So now I bought the property as Brian Graham. I'm going to transfer that property to Graham Real Estate LLC. And the reason I do it that way is so I can get those better terms. I want to make sure that I get the best terms for myself for the longest time possible to maximize my cash flow. And then I transfer the property to an LLC, and then I'm going to leave it like that. Most residential mortgages, however, will require you they will do what's called a due on sale clause when you transfer the property from one entity to another. So from Brian Graham to Graham Real Estate. Many banks, however, will not honor that due on sale clause, which is a good thing for you because now you can transfer to your name, because they want to make sure that you're just paying down the loan. They want to make money. They don't really care who owns the property. They care who's paying down the loan. So my friend over there, Pace Morby, who talks about subject to and all, this is a similar concept where as long as someone's paying down the mortgage, the bank doesn't care. You can transfer the property as many times as you want. And due on sale clauses are supposed to be honored left and right, but they're not, because the bank kind of turns a blind eye and they say, all right, just keep giving me the check. Keep giving me the check every month. You guys can keep doing what you're doing over there. And as long as you are paying down the mortgage, that's what matters. And then you can transfer the property to your business's name, and now that will protect you. So you're still personally responsible for the mortgage, but you're no longer personally liable if an issue happens to a tenant or the property itself. So let's say somebody comes on and someone tries to sue you. They bang their knee on the, whatever. They slip and fall on the concrete you were supposed to clean up or something and you didn't. Well, they can sue you individually. Well, that's not going to happen now because you're a business that owns the real estate. So now they sue your business. And the most that they can get out of you if something happens is the property. They can't come after any of your other properties. They cannot come after anything you personally own. They can't come after your primary residence. So then they have to do a cost analysis. Do they really want to come after the property? Because it may or may not be worth it at that point for them. Or do they just leave it alone? So something important to think about when you're buying real estate, specifically residential real estate. But do keep in mind that when you buy residential real estate, you're only allowed maximum 10 mortgages in your name. So that's the max amount that the federal government will allow. So when you start to buy property 1, property 2, and so on, and you get the property number 10, you transfer them all to an LLC. Now you're stuck. You cannot buy any more properties within your personal name. So you'll have to either buy that 11th property in an LLC from the get-go, which I said is all worst terms, or you could do it this way. You take those 10 residential mortgages, and even though they're all in a business, you now take that business and you go to a different company. Could be a commercial mortgage lender. It could be a private mortgage lender. But now you're going to do what's called a portfolio refinance loan, and you're going to transfer all these properties into one single loan. You could do it in a way that you split them up and do maybe 5 and 2 separate LLCs. You can do 3, 3, and 4 to make sure that that incurs more cost, of course. But if your long-term goal is to scale, to 100 properties or so, let's say you take these first 10 residential mortgages and make it simple. You're going to have all 10 residential mortgages now refinanced into one business, one single LLC, and they'll give you obviously commercial terms on it, but by the time you scale to that point, you should have hopefully generated enough cash flow to where even though the terms are going to be a little worse for you, the rates are a little higher, the terms aren't as long, the amortization isn't as long, you would have scaled to a point where you're going to owe a little bit more, your cash flow is going to come down, but now you're no longer at all personally held accountable for those mortgages, and now it's all put into the business's loans, and all the loans are put into the business, and refinanced, and now you can move forward as an official real estate professional. Everything is within business, and you don't have to be personally accountable. So those are the benefits. and then if you want, you can go back to square one and start purchasing the next 10 residential mortgages in your name, and then just keep doing that over and over and over again. And then when you refinance that entire portfolio, you put it into a different business entity. You do it again, a different business entity again. And so now you've got, 5 to 10 businesses, all with, 5 to 10 properties within each one of them. And let's say after 10 years, you may have 50 properties within 5 different businesses' names. And now all those businesses could be owned by a trust of some sort. And then, I'm not an expert on estate planning. I don't know yet what is the best way to do that, and I am myself going to be navigating that soon. But that is definitely the next step, is once you start accumulating that amount of wealth and that amount of those amount of assets, you got to be looking at estate planning to make sure that when you die, someone's got to be next in line to either take control or take ownership. That's not just the federal government or the banks that are just going to sell them off at an auction. So, I hope you guys had a great week. I hope you have a great week coming up. Remember, this episode was talking about how to start a business, technically and practically, and how it applies to real estate as well. So you guys have an awesome week, and I will see you next week. The advice and recommendations I offer are intended to be informative and educational, drawing from my own experiences in the real estate market. It is crucial to recognize that every investment decision carries risk and outcomes may vary. I am not a financial advisor, and the information provided during these podcast episodes is not intended as financial, legal, or professional advice.
It is your responsibility to conduct thorough due diligence, seek the advice of qualified financial professionals, and make informed decisions based on your individual financial situation and goals.